Well, top of the day, I'm Kurt Chase, your host today, and we're doing something a little bit different with the Automotive Ed Radio Show and Tailgate Talk. We're here today in Grapevine, Texas with, it's amazing when you run into people, you start talking to people, you find out that there's some grassroots about getting to know people and talk to people. Mike Hanna, CEO, owner of TrueSpot. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Mike and I were sitting there talking the first time the second time I came in, found out we're both Irving guys.
Yeah.
And grew up, within blocks of each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Small world.
Yep. I'm glad that Mike didn't grow up with me and know all my brothers and everything. He might not have invited me in here to be to put together a sponsorship. But
a little bit younger.
Just a little bit. So for all my car buddies out there, I want to thank everybody for taking today and tune in. One thing that I want to bring to your attention is there are times where you just kind of have to step back and look at what can we do differently? What can we do to make the dealer situation better? Yeah. And I live by a word that I learned when I was at the Toyota factory, Kaizen. How do we make better better?
Yeah.
Even though the bottom line looks good, a lot of times, we open up a financial as a general manager, you go down and go, bam, we're doing good.
Yeah.
But what more can we do to accent that? And then I met Mike and we started talking and I went, hang on a second here. Some of the biggest problems that I had as a general manager and managing dealerships was some of the things that you can fix immediately.
Yeah.
For the dealer at TrueSpot. So talk a little bit about your background, because at one time you were a car guy, and now you're still kind of a car guy in a different position on the field.
Yeah.
And talk about how this all started.
Thanks, Kurt. So it's spend some time retail automotive, so obviously understand how things work and what's happening on a daily basis. And a lot of time in technology. So my background has a lot of technology development, wireless communications, building solutions, and trying to solve problems with those solutions. So about 5 years ago, those two things came together. So just knowing some of the pain points in the auto industry, and from a retail automotive, from sales, from reconditioning, and all the things that you have to do to get cars ready and serve customers and do all those sort of things, I said, okay, there's a way technology can really help drive efficiency and create just a better customer experience. And so effectively that's what started TrueSpot. So just started kind of working with some of my friends in the industry in the early days and saying, hey, if I could help you do that, and is that still a big problem for you? Oh, that's a huge problem. If you can make that better for me, then you'd have the next best thing since sliced bread. So we kind of went about starting to create some of those things, and I can go in a little bit more detail, but solving some of those problems that have just been really, when I talk to dealer partners today, the common phrase I get back, well, that's just a cost of doing business. Well, does it have to be a cost of doing business? If you could eliminate your lost key cost, for example, and if you could eliminate all the time you spend looking for keys and having customers wait for test drives and just get all of that sales process going a lot smoother, would that cost of business be something you'd actually like to solve and actually turn into bottom line impact?
Well, actually reduce, because there's a cost for your service, there's a cost for your product but you're reducing that and creating efficiency throughout the dealership.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I know a lot of times we'd be asking about cars, or they come and say, hey, where's this vehicle? I don't know.
Yeah.
And then the biggest problem is who's got the keys and tracking keys and finding keys. And when you have a consumer there, that's the last thing you want, is to be stumbling through the whole process.
Yeah.
So the feature and benefit, which I look at everything as a feature and benefit. I met you, I looked at your product, okay, here's the feature, what's the benefit? The benefit is actually financially could be enormous.
Absolutely.
Depending on the size of your dealership, how many cars that you're selling, and being able to track everything to make sure that when the consumer shows up, everything's in line. Not perfect, but more efficient and more readily available to take care of the consumer when they get there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's it could be considered a soft cost, but that time, typically an average just salesperson at a dealership spending about 45 minutes a day just looking for cars and keys. A lot of times that's impacting a customer that's then they're waiting for a test drive. So if you could have all of that in a nice little package, you never have to worry where a car or a key's at again. Customer comes in, for example, hey, looking for the blue BMW 5 Series. Hey, that car's actually on the back lot. Grab a water. I'm going to go pull it around. The key is actually not in the machine, but I know exactly where it's at. It's in the sales tower. Grab that key, grab that car, get that customer into a test drive. That experience is worth more than
no doubt.
Count. Yeah.
Yeah, because when you think about it, what you have to do, is you have to get outside the box when you see this video and you hear Mike talking. Is you have to kind of step back and go, what's on the other side of this? And that's the consumer experience.
Yeah.
And I remember the two things that I hated the most in the auto industry was dead batteries, finding keys.
Yeah.
And so you tell, well, hang on, well, how about I bring up something similar to? Well, that's not what they're there for.
Yeah.
They're there for that particular product.
Yep.
And with a product like yours, is the process perfect? No, but I'm going to tell you, it will reduce time, it will reduce anxiety, and the bottom line is going to change.
Yeah, absolutely. That on-lot experience is paramount. So it starts from our perspective when we look at it from the customer experience, and it's the ability to make sure that, and I'll give you a little bit of background of how all this works. So we have a low-power campus network. Essentially, it's a radio network that covers the entire campus, overflow lots, your recon centers, anywhere where you have cars and keys, this network is set up. And what it does is gives you pinpoint location of every key and also location of every car. And so just that is a starting point of knowing where those critical assets are in real time all the time. Brings an efficiency that it's really hard to quantify a lot of times. And we talk to dealers, and one of the easy things is from a lost key perspective. So we're cutting lost keys all the time, right? And so,
yeah, and let me interrupt here for a second.
Sure.
We all know what the cost of keys are.
Yeah.
I remember cutting keys was really simple because they had a little dial, they clipped
Yeah.
it, they run it on a little bit of a sander and you're off and running. Now the average key is $380.
Yeah.
I mean, so the cost versus the value, and then the consumer experience, which is a plus gross. So you have a minus from the loss here and a plus on the gross, and you get to move forward.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The one of the things when you think about hard costs, and if you're accounting for those things, if it's not even, a lot of times I talk to dealer partners like, well, I don't really see the financial impact of lost keys because they're just tagged to the deal. And so you never see a true accounting of how many keys are lost on a monthly basis.
Yeah, because you see a lot of dealers what they call pack, and so they're
Yeah.
packing for extra keys because their loss is so great.
Correct.
Versus moving that to the front line because it's really a variable number, but if
Yeah.
it's always a plus number, you win.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see 95 to 100% reduction in that lost key cost. So if you're accounting for those
90%.
things, 90% or plus, because those keys are not lost forever. They're just inconveniently misplaced. And so you've closed the deal. You got to deliver 2 keys. Can't find the second key somewhere. It's in Johnny's desk drawer, but it's not going to be found until a month later.
And the dealer's spending a lot of money on whatever their key service is
Oh, yeah.
that's actually not working properly.
Oh, yeah.
So you got 2 bills coming in. You got the bill for a tracking system that is not working properly because we don't know where the keys are, and then you're cutting other keys and then find it later, which is of no value.
Yeah, absolutely. So you get that big bag of keys, and it just gets bigger, 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 and it's nice paperweights and things of that nature. So, but that's an easy one. We eliminate that almost from day one. The day we deploy, lost keys are a thing of the past. But to what you're saying before, Kurt, it's not the lost key cost. I mean, that's an absolute reduction, and that hits the bottom line typically from day one. But it's that time, it's that customer experience, it's the fact that every salesman now on the floor is completely confident when that customer comes in that they know where the car and the key's at.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's in the machine, if it's in the sales tower, if it's in somebody's desk drawer, our system's going to know where it's at.
And you're not walking around with a remote above your head
Yes.
trying to find car, because you could actually go to the sales desk and go, hey, Mike, Mr. and Mrs. Joe Bag of Donuts are here. They're on this car. Great. Here's the key, and here's where the car is. And that efficiency just takes a whole different look.
Yeah, and funny you mentioned the remote, and I remember walking a lot trying to get the better signal, so I put it under my chin and trying to transmit further. But what's interesting now is the hybrids and the battery-powered vehicles, they go into a sleep mode, and so the remote doesn't actually work, and so you actually a lot of times have to go back and touch the car with the fob itself and things like that. Otherwise, and you got to go to the exact car.
Right.
So that, there's no longer running around trying to hit the fob and making the car honk so you can find it. You actually have to go touch that car to get into it. So that knowing where that car is at to start is just a big bonus from the system that we deliver. So
Yeah, I've gone around and talked to some dealers, and when I look at the loss just on keys alone, it's just tremendous. And we don't even think about it because we think because technology is so good, everything moves very well. There's still some old school stuff that hasn't changed, but True Spot is able to help. And I want to tell all my dealer buddies out there, is make the contact to Mike and just get started. Just get some good dialogue going. And I know a bunch of you sent me some stuff going, hey, Kurt, we want you to get in real technical meat and potatoes. I'm not going to. That's what we have Mike here for. I mean,
I'm happy
to think that a guy in the car business sits there and goes, has this epiphany, but the intellect to put something like this together is here, and Kurt's here. I'm still the old block and tackle guy, and then we have the technical efficient guy. So let's talk about, I know we have some of the product here for you to show. Why don't you grab some of it, and let's talk about how this works.
Thanks. So at a high level, I kind of mentioned before, so what we've done that's quite different is we built a campus-based network. So it's tailored for every dealer partner. So when we go in, we do what we call a site survey, understand the physical characteristics of your dealership, the operational processes of your dealership, and then we go and deploy this network. It's based on a technology called LoRa, which is a long-range, low-power radio technology. So we put this guy in, basically I call this a base station, but then this guy gives us about a 2-mile radius of wireless coverage. So very low power, it's like what I call trickle data. We're not watching Netflix using this, but we're locating every key in car. And then this interconnects with some gateways that let me grab a couple real quick as well just to show. I got this guy and this guy. A couple different gateway products that we have. This guy's what we call a solar gateway. This goes up, basically it gets band clamped on light poles out on the lot. So this gives us visibility of any key, car, jump box, anything you want to track with our system. Dealer plates, we're tracking dealer plates all the time as well. So you know where these things are at in real time. They're connecting to this guy outside, and they're connecting to this guy inside. So this is our indoor gateway, about the size of a half a deck of cards. Gives us real-time visibility again to where every car and key's at. So physically, we call it, and the geointelligence helps you manage your lot operations, so lot management, helps you manage the sales engagement, right, when those customers are coming in. Not only do you have car location, but we've integrated with all the DMS players and all the vAutos and HomeNet. So we have all the vehicle metadata, all the things that the vehicle details, and so you have location now with every detail you need to help you through the sales process. We have days in inventory, so if you're talking about aged inventory and how you organize the lot, our dashboard gives you real-time intelligence and visibility to all of that, so you're able to move those aged units to the front line, get a bow on them, that sort of thing. Why is that car sitting there? It's been 90 plus days in inventory, but it's back in employee parking. All right, get it to the front line, get a bow on it, we got to get that car out of here. But then also reconditioning. So when you
that was going to be my point. One thing that you and I talked about earlier was the recon, the reconditioning of the vehicle. There's a lot of times, why is that car still sitting back there? And the average recon, depending on who you talk to, 3 to 5 days cap, where that thing goes through recon, photographed, detailed, cleaned up, ready for sale. And I still, as I'm going through the dealer, is where's that car? How come it's not been photographed? How come it's not on the front line? Well, I have to go back and find and see, and you actually have a process to take care of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's some great recon software tools that are out there. What we did when we looked at reconditioning was say we can do something unique and really solve what was the number one pain point that all our dealer partners were telling us, which is have a reconditioning tool. It's okay. We use it. It's better than nothing, but half the data is good and half the data is bad. Why is that? Well, because it's a manually driven process. You have to, if you really want to manage your recon workflow, you have to check cars in through the steps and then move it all the way to the front line. And as you do that, you basically have a lot of hands touching these vehicles, and if those people are responsible for making that software click, a lot of times they don't. A lot of times these are service techs that are changing oil and doing the things that they need to do to get a car frontline ready. They're not in a software tool nor spending the time to really fundamentally manage that. And so what happens is at the end of the month, as a general manager or the pre-owned director, you're looking at that going, well, I got some data, but I know it's wrong, but it's better than nothing. So now I have something that's helping me manage that process. So I said, okay, if we can build a tool that can obviously manage that process, but then take the location piece and use that to drive the workflow. So I'll give you a couple examples. So this indoor gateway I mentioned here, we can put this in Service Bay 1. We can put another one in Service Bay 2, for example. In Service Bay 1, Johnny's your service tech. He's doing tire and wheel work. In Service Bay 2, it's Jimmy, and Jimmy's doing lube and tune type stuff. Well, when that car pulls into Service Bay 1 and I think I said Johnny's Bay, Johnny gets an alert and says, hey, you have 2 ROs that are assigned to you for this car. This car is now active. You're on the clock. So the accountability of that service tech, the visibility of not only just where the car and the key's at physically, but where it's at in the workflow to get frontline ready is now automated and visible to everybody. And then when that car pulls out of service bay 1 and it pulls into service bay 2, now it's Jimmy. Same thing. It's checked out of Johnny's step, checked into Jimmy's step. We moved the car in the workflow, and now Jimmy gets or Johnny. Sorry, I got confused on my names, but now Jimmy gets a notification. Hey, we got these 2 ROs that are part of this job, part of this vehicle. Now you're on the clock and you're working it. So all the way through to the detail. If that's your last step in recon, or just roll it to the front line, that car gets moved to the process. So you have real-time accountability, you have real-time alerts, the visibility that goes with that transforms the recon process.
And what I see is that it takes the excuses out.
Yep.
The car was, the paperwork and everything's done, contracts in transit done, it's our car, it's time to move. And once that movement begins, you're taking out all the excuses. And I think it takes that level of accountability up to get that car through the process, because the dollars are rolling. I mean, once that contract in transit and the deal's booked, it becomes part of your floor plan, so the expenses kick in.
Yeah.
Why not move that through and reduce the amount of expenses? And mainly excuses, because I go, well, I hadn't got any paperwork on that one. I haven't got this one yet. Still waiting on that. This is really going to simplify it where, hang on a second, this is all done. And once they're, it's just like anything.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll grab one more thing. I'll show you. So when we tag a car or a key, just to play on the recon example, a lot of our dealer partners. Oh yeah, thanks. Hands are getting full. So a lot of times at auction, and we're going back to the auctions, which is great. But the second you buy that car, you can tag it at the auction. So we have a lot of dealer partners that do that. So now you own that car; it's part of your floor plan and everything else. And whether it's at Manheim or whatever else, you're now taking possession of that car. So physically, when you tag it, there's a timestamp. It starts a process, whether it's your recon process or other. And then that car makes its way through transit, shows up on the lot, a notification. When that truck pulls onto the lot, you can actually get a notification that says, okay, that car I bought a day ago or 2 days ago is actually physically here now. And you've basically, now you know your transit time in that case, right? So transit time, still have holding costs associated with that. And then now your recon process starts on site, right? So,
well, let me interrupt again. I'm going to interrupt once in a while here, but I was on a lot the other day, and so the salesman says, well, I thought we bought these cars. He goes, well, I don't know if they're here yet. And he goes, they've actually got here yesterday.
Yeah.
And so they're sitting a lot, and so everybody's kind of looking at each other. And once again, you have a product that's going to eliminate all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the key word you mentioned a minute ago, Kurt, was...
And also, once this is in the system, the salespeople can actually see what's coming down the pipeline, which was acquired, and then go back into their database and go, well, hang on a second, you just picked up all these cars from auction, and if you're willing to share that information with the salespeople, they're already on the phone calling people going, hey, we didn't have what you were looking, exactly, a pre-sale of what we had, but we now have it coming. When can we make that appointment, which expedites this process even better?
Yeah, no, I think you say location is everything, just as our tagline, but it brings a whole level of insight, accountability, and ability just to sell better, faster, and serve the customer better. So once you have that location, and we talked about this word we kind of I invented called geointelligence, and so we didn't want to just stop there. We wanted to take that location and actually integrate it into your entire workflow, from a dealer's perspective, the entire workflow. So think about it starting at recon for pre-owned vehicles, and then moving through that process to frontline ready. Now it's part of engaging from a sales perspective, an on-lot experience for the customer, and then all the way to delivery. And so when that car is delivered to the consumer, that visibility and all the little things that go with that, even to the dealer plates and things that we talked about, just so that there's nothing. There's always something, but a lot of the paper cuts that are part of the process that just create time, create some frustration through the sales process, we try to eliminate all those. And location is one of the underpinnings that we use to create that visibility, that efficiency, that workflow automation, just to make everything better at the end of the day.
I can just see as you're talking, and I know my wife's gonna say you interrupt too much, but as car guys, what I want to continue to do is throw out the benefits, because I'm in the dealership 6 days a week, and I go to probably 12 to 14 dealers every week, either meeting consumers or going through product or just stopping in, see sponsors. It's kind of real, but it's kind of not. What the up is a consumer. How they ever got tagged with that, I don't know. Waiting for someone to show up versus having a product like this where they're always motivated to be on the phone or online or doing something. And especially one thing is the communication between, okay guys, hey, we just picked up these 12 cars at auction. I know that you had some people that these vehicles might fit, and you're already being proactive. And so when you come into work and you have this type of tool in front of you, there are just no excuses. When they, well, no, I haven't walked a lot. Everyone that's tuned in, how do they get in contact with you?
The best way, so myself personally, I'm just Mike at truespot.com. And that's truespot.com. And to find out more, you can go to truespot.com. The website, there's a lot of videos and just information on the products and kind of what we do and how we do it.
Chips and the inventory, obviously you drive around and the inventory is spread out so thin. Used cars now become the new car, and that inventory spread out, even though a lot of bottom lines are doing very, very well because of supply and demand. For me, if I was running a dealership, I'm going to take time to meet people like you to go, hang on a second here. Once this comes back online and the lot's packed up the way it used to be, those problems are going to arise again. Right now it's very easy to manage a lot, but those times are slowly, that door is slowly starting to close when we see what a lot of the manufacturers are doing by reducing options to get the microchips quicker, by actually sending the products ahead. And I was talking to Mike about this earlier, is the manufacturer like, wait a minute, we have all this product sitting around, let's go ahead and ship it. And then what we're going to do is go in and train the technicians to install it. Well, as all this product starts showing up, we need to know where all the product is. And tagging this product. Let's say that I'm the salesman and Mike calls, and I drove by your lot and I saw that red Silverado sitting out there. I've been wanting it. Well, okay, let's go ahead and put this deal together. We don't have the microchips, and then this goes in, the keys, everything are put aside, the vehicle's tagged, it's a sold unit. I mean, there's just so many ways to put processes in place now, so as your inventory picks up, it's seamless. And that's the way I look at it. I think it's a good time for a lot of people to sit down and go, hang on a second here, let's have that conversation with Mike, Hanna. And like I've told a lot of you, I could sign up sponsors all day long. I could just have my website full of sponsors, but that's not the way it is. It's all about features and benefit and the quality of the product. For me to sit here with Mike Hanna and go, take time to talk to him. And I know some of you guys joke and say, you know, Kurt, you've been out of the dealers for a long time. You know what? I just got through running a dealership for a while. I know I'm old school, but this is old school with the best way of performing in today's time with today's technology together, and look outside the box. And stop looking at your bottom line right now, because I hear a lot of them go, well, you know, my bottom line's killing it.
It's ever been,
Yeah, and I've got a few people that, you know, have different products outside the tech side, and they're going, well, you know, I'm like, hang on a second. It's going to go back. But if your product and processes and policies are in place, your shoulders above what a lot of them are going to stay in the trenches and do. So this actually, what I see for a salesperson is it's going to minimize and maximize. It's going to minimize the time running around trying to find everything and maximize the customer experience. That's what I see your product doing.
No, absolutely. And I like to think about it, so if just say a salesman spends 45 minutes of his day on average looking for a car or a key, if you could give him or her back that 45 minutes, multiply that over 5 or 6 days a week, multiply that out over a month, and all of a sudden you've built in another 3 or 4 days of workday for them to call, make, you know, prospect and serve the customer, follow up on customers that have been in. And so those things start to pay back, you know, exponentially. And I think now especially is a great time, because I think you have a little bit of time to take a step back, and inventory is obviously down, pre-owned super hot, and we can, you know, help tremendously on the recon side with our True Recon product and the location automation I mentioned. But now you have time to really look at things from a process perspective and new tools that can really drive efficiency, because I think that inventory is going to be coming back sooner than what I was even thinking, just some discussions I was having and talking to you.
Well, when you look at the SARS count, and let's just say the SARS, once this thing turns around, which it's going to, the auto industry, the largest employer in the world, one of the most resilient industries in the world by far, is when that SARS hits at 17.1, 17.2, I don't see a product out there better than what you have to really make those wheels stay greased and keep things rotating around. Because I don't see the used car market changing a lot. I see the new car getting to be on the phone talking business.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's when I think about it, I think about the life cycle of the vehicle. And so we look at all of the things that can help you manage that vehicle better, whether it's on the lot, whether it's going out onto a test drive, whether it's going through that reconditioning process, all the way ultimately to delivery, and how to just reduce that turn. Happier customer experience because there's not those little delays that are built in, or even the salesman not knowing where the car or key's at. And I've been there.
There's nothing worse.
That little bit of fear, like that red.
Well, then you got to start making excuses, and you should never have to make excuses to a consumer making the second largest purchase of their life.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times we get away from that vision that they are here, they don't believe what comes out of our mouth. They're very uncomfortable. They think they're here to rip off. But when you approach a consumer with the right introduction, and then you take them through the right process, man, you can just see their blood pressure going down.
Blood pressure, exactly what I'm thinking. So now that confidence level of the salesman goes up. They can focus on the feature benefit of the vehicle and the customer experience. And
Less turnover. Less turnover.
Less turnover. Happier salesperson. And there's all kinds of benefits.
Wouldn't it be great to hear a salesperson in an interview? Hey, do y'all have True Spot here? Okay, I'm not interested.
We see that a little bit now, and more and more like we're growing, and so it's great to see just referrals from dealer partners or salespeople that go to another store, like, hey, you guys need to have True Spot. I had it at my last store, and it changed our life, and so that's great to see. But yeah, absolutely, that'd be great.
No doubt about it. TrueSpot.com. Make your connection with Mike. And what we're going to do down the road is we actually want to go into a dealership that's using True Spot. Have Mike there, have the management team, and really let you in on the differences that it's made. And if you're an owner or a general manager, you know what? I rely on my GSM for these decisions. I rely on my management team for this decision because they have to buy in and use it, which is true. I see so many times where a product is shut and they go, oh my gosh, what do we got to go through? We got to reinvent the wheel. I don't understand the sacrifice that we make away from our family, friends, significant others with time. Mike does, and he's one of us, and to take that time to go, hang on, I did what you're doing, and now we want to simplify and make better what you're doing.
Yeah, and I'll just add, so we're really big on integrating with all the partners in the industry. So we've probably done 30 different integrations from obviously the inventory feeds and that sort of thing. But one I'll mention is with Keeper, and so Keeper, great product, great key machine, great company. And so we've integrated with Keeper not only at the fob, our fob and their fob go together, but just on the information that comes from Keeper, right? So we kind of think of it as Keeper's the who and the when. Who checked out the key and when they checked it out? True Spot's the where. So that who and the when is also in our system. So if you go look for a car and a key and you say, oh, there's a key, it's over there, I know where it's, we can track off lot as well.
And I've done that before. Throw a set of keys, you're showing several vehicles, you're tired, you put in a 10-day, 12-day hour, and you're on your way home.
Yeah.
What do you tell to the manager?
It's a quick story just to add some color to that. So one of the owners of one of our dealer partners took a key home, and I think one of the general, our mobile apps on iOS and Android also act as a gateway. So those gateways I showed you before that determine location anywhere on campus. The mobile application on the smartphone will also act as a gateway when that key or car goes off lot. And I'll caveat that really quickly that if the person has location services turned off on their phone or Bluetooth turned off on their phone, that update won't happen. But more times than not, we're going to track those keys and cars off lot, and you're going to see where they're at as long as one of your people have them. And so what's interesting in that case, like with Keeper, so Johnny checked it out, and he checked it out at 3:42 yesterday, and it's pin dropped to a house. All right, Johnny, you took another key home. You probably left it in your laundry room. I got a customer here coming in for a test drive. Get that, or delivery even. I don't want to cut that second key. You got to come in. I don't care if it's your day off or we're going to send a runner to pick it up.
Yep.
So just that sort of, and that's just one of 1,000 use cases, but bringing those things together from an integration perspective, so you have that local interfaces, but when you bring that into one interface and you start to do these integrations, it just becomes much more powerful. So that's one of the things that we're really big on.
Yeah, efficiency, accountability, and the customer experience. I mean, what a hat trick to have. True Spot, go to TrueSpot.com, make the time, and I go back to football. You know, when the Cowboys were horrible, they finally brought in the right person and started bonuses. But for retention, the customer experience, and the salesperson knowing that you've invested in a product that's going to make their job so much easier.
Absolutely.
Especially for your salespeople that have been doing it a long time or have been somewhere else that are working for you now. Go, hang on a second here. I don't have these problems. And they're not taking their stress home or bringing their stress to work when they come each day. So truespot.com is the place.
Yeah, thanks, Kurt. And we like to think about it when we, as with a dealer partner this week, and one of the things that we do, we create the absence of pain. And so one of the ways we think about it, so there's pain already, and then once you implement TrueSpot, those pain points go away, and so we create the absence of pain. So what we love our dealer partners. What we say is when we come back, we're talking to you in 3 months, just remember what it was like before, because the absence of pain, you get used to not having pain. And so,
every problem that you have is a reduction in profit.
Correct.
And I always tell myself that every time we have a problem, it always gets exposed to the consumer, and then we can only make it up by discount, or excuses, and this will alleviate a whole lot of that. Mike, thanks so much for joining us today. TrueSpot.com. I want to thank all my dealer buddies for tuning in today. Make the connection, start your dialogue. I'm telling you, it will change the atmosphere of your dealership. We could pinpoint bottom line this, but you know what? When it's an overall blanket that's going to change the face of your dealership, which I believe, that's the reason I'm here with Mike Hanna. Check him out, truespot.com, and we'll be back soon. We want to get to a dealership where we can actually talk to the people that are using it and affirm the reason why you need to reach out to truespot.com. That's truespot.com. Mike, thanks again for having us out today.